This is Bazaar Morning Call, broadcasting live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studios in Mumbai.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. This is a Thursday morning coming to you live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleague Sonia and Nigel. Guys, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Prashant. Good morning, Nigel. Well, lots to look out for in the markets today, but the moot point is the going has been good. The bulls have been on track and looks like that can continue.
Well, that's right. When we started this week, we thought we'll be getting the big cues coming out of the United States with regard to economic data, but we've got plenty of domestic cues. You've got the Kotak Mahindra Bank issue. You've got a lot of results as well. So, plenty on our plate, and today is the monthly expiry as well that will play out.
You know, yesterday evening, everyone in the newsroom, I can tell you, and our viewers, wrapping up quietly, nicely, Wednesday evening, looking forward to a Thursday. It was 3:30, I think, when the Kotak news came. Actually, around 4-ish when the news came. You guys had wrapped up market forward, and, I saw Surabhi in the newsroom, and suddenly there was pandemonium. So, yeah, I mean, it's something which we will discuss, the Kotak the issue with RBI, the RBI pointing out several lapses and, of course, taking action. But as we always do, let's start from the very beginning. What do you need to know as we begin a new session, right? So overnight, essentially, the handover has been extremely quiet. Quiet and lackluster equity markets is what we have. It's on your screen. The Nasdaq, nothing. The S&P 500, absolutely nothing as well. Do other markets respond? I'm talking about the rates market, the dollar market, nothing really. And that's been the problem all through this week that I've been pointing out as well. The equity markets have moved up a little bit every day. The yield, for example, not going past 4.7, not going under 4.6. It went up 4 basis points to about 4.64. Right before US markets opened, it actually was looking better. But then you had headlines out of the Middle East, which partially soured sentiment. So Israel essentially said that they'd struck 40 sites linked to Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Of course, this was not unanticipated. They've been sort of talking about this for a while, but it came through. The other war, which of course is now over 2 years old, is the Russia-Ukraine war. And there you had US President Biden, who signed a package that would deliver military aid to Ukraine. So there's been a fair bit of chatter around this. In terms of how Ukraine is running out of money and aid is needed now. So that also happened, right? So that's geopolitics. But I think it's the former, not the latter, which really affected markets a little bit, soured sentiment, as I said. Oil prices, they held out around $88 a barrel. There's been no large spike or anything of that sort. Dollar index, it held under the 106 level as well. The USD JPY, it has gone past 155. Now, typically, you start to hear noises around intervention. Will the Bank of Japan, will the Ministry of Finance in Japan start to intervene to defend the currency? So far, nothing. Maybe not until you get the meeting, the Bank of Japan meeting. You also had results, and we've been pointing out how 5 out of the so-called Magnificent 7 companies are reporting this week. Tesla reported. By the way, Tesla sold off big time after hours, after they reported earnings in the last US session, not overnight, the previous day. But last night, Tesla was up 12-13%. The new result was Meta, which is Facebook, and they reported earnings after market hours, and the stock fell 15% in after hours. Now, with most of these things, what happens is by the time we hit air this in the morning and talk about the earnings, the conference call is underway, or people are parsing through if it's already happened, and that causes another reaction, sometimes as violently as it did in the case of Tesla. So watch out for that, but that's an important cue for our markets as well on the tech side. Now, just to sort of tie all of this into levels, Nifty closed marginally above the 61.8% retracement. That stands at 22,394. We left just above that level, 22,402. So that, in a way, if you want to look at the daily pivot, that still is the daily pivot, 22,394. Up or down. Now, the resistance for the Nifty continues to be in the zone of 22,427 and 22,503. 3 days now, the Nifty has been knocking at that zone and failing to take this out. So we'll see what happens today. The Bank Nifty, it closed above the 61.8% retracement. That stands at 48,111. On the way up, the resistance is in the gap area. And for the Nifty Bank, that is 48,255 to 48,477. We left off at 48,200 or so. So both the Nifty and the Bank Nifty are right in that sort of resistance zone, which are the respective gap areas. And that needs needs to be taken out for the Nifty to go to an all-time high and for the Nifty Bank to make more progress. On the way down, Bank Nifty has got near-term support at 48,021 and then 47,928. The Gift Nifty will come up on your screen. Given the cues we have from the US, etc., I mean, it's a nothing kind of a handover in that sense. Maybe the tech cues perhaps a little more important. You know, Meta sold off after hours, but if you look at some of the other stocks, I mean, I'm talking about the other large cap IT stocks in the US, mega cap IT stocks, they also in after hours sold off a little bit, 2-3% in that range. And that, I think, is the reason why a little bit of the Asian sort of screen is also looking a little down, a little red. Sonia.
Absolutely. The Gift Nifty is now down, I think, about 65 odd points, right? So indicating that it's going to be a soft start. But I'm watching out for a lot of individual stocks, and it's a mixed bag, right? There are some numbers which have been very good. And I think what tops the charts this morning is Axis Bank. Very strong set of numbers, and that will definitely aid the market sentiment. The revenues, the asset quality surprised positively. The loan growth was very healthy at 14%. So that could be the pillar of the market. On the flip side, of course, what happened with Kotak Mahindra Bank will not go down well at all. The central bank restricting Kotak Mahindra Bank from issuing new credit cards and onboarding new customers. That's something that could offset, Axis Bank's positive numbers. Another weak set of numbers came in from HUL, and I don't think there are any surprises here. The volume growth was expected to be 2 to 3%. It came in at 2%. The management commentary was not great either, but the stock has also underperformed quite a bit. So there is definitely low expectations and hence low disappointment for this stock. But for the markets, right, just look at it. I mean, the Nifty is up for 4 straight days now. The Nifty has gained almost 600 points from the April 18th low of 21,850. So it seems like there's nothing stopping this market. There may be some volatile phases, but it is an uptrending market given what we've seen in the recent past. Look at the way DIIs are buying in this market. 3,800 crores is what has come in from the domestic institutions in one single day. And it seems like, at least that's the indication from most market experts, that every dip should be bought in this market and the uptrend is pretty much intact. Now, today you have a lot of numbers coming through. There's ACC, Tech Mahindra, Bajaj Finance, Indices Bank that will be reporting numbers. Tomorrow you have names like Maruti that will be reporting numbers. So we have our hands pretty full. But I think, from just a market observer point of view, I think it's a really strong market that we have on our hand. We're not looking at global cues anymore because we have our local positive cues to deal with. Of course, today Kotak Mahindra Bank could, sour the sentiment a bit, but largely I think the going has been pretty good.
Well, that's right, Sonia. And today is going to be the monthly expiry as well, so there will be some volatility towards the final hour of trade in particular. The rollovers, though, they've been a little lower than what we normally see if I compare it with the last 3 months or so. What did the FIs do in yesterday's trading session? Well, they unwound some long positions, and that's what take the short positions to around 69%. And if you look at it in absolute terms, the total net short positions now from the FIs have gone to around 1.25 lakh contracts. Now, look at the swing factor. Just around 2 weeks or so ago, you had them being net long. So the swing factor that we've seen is tremendous because now, in fact, that number has come down to around 1.25 lakh. So that's a big swing factor, 1.75 lakh contracts in terms of a swing factor out there. A net short market, I'm not too worried about that. In the past, we've seen that the markets do bounce when we do see some short positioning out there. What about the options data? Because these options will expire today. 22,500 call, well, a fair bit of open interest built up out there, and the 22,400 put as well, a fair bit of open interest built up. But since the 22,400 put saw a fair bit of open interest built up, and the premium ended around 55 rupees, the average premium has been around 70 to around 80 rupees. So that's why the first reference point I'm looking at on the downside is 22,320, 22,400 minus 80 rupees. So that's the first level that I'm looking at. The 50 DMA, that becomes the crucial mark that we're looking at. While on the upside, the resistance zone has been the case and that continues to remain the case. Now, you'll have, the Nifty Bank as well, that it'll be interesting to see how it plays out because Kotak Mahindra Bank will start gap down. So in terms of a reference point, it's the Nifty Bank, it'll be quite important because the 50 DMA, the 20 DMA, they are crucial marks on the downside as well. So we'll keep an eye on that in terms of a reference point on the downside. Resistance, 48,500. Stock that I'm looking at, Dalmia Bharat. The numbers were very, very weak. In terms of a margin compression, it was quite a big miss out there. But the stock is 20% down from the highs that we saw in December 2023. So part of that bad news is in the price. And if you pull up an intraday chart as well, you'll see that towards the end of trade, there were some shorts that got added out there. So it starts lower, but I'll be interested to see whether or not there is some kind of short covering that takes place on this one. Numbers weak, no doubt, but how much of it is in the price?
All right, Nigel, thanks very much for that. So that's Dalmia Bharat. Keep an eye out on that one after earnings. Let's get you some views now. This is on the money markets. Parul Mittal Sinha, Standard Chartered Bank, says that the USD INR remained range-bound of the week with low volatility as geopolitical tensions eased amid active participation by local banks. She says rupee could outperform in the near-term scenario of USD strength, given forex reserves are near all-time high and positive rupee fundamentals. She says positioning is much lighter now, and they're expecting the currency pair to trade between 83.2 to 83.45 to the dollar in the week ahead.
All right, on the bonds, Parul says bond yields rose last week on geopolitical uncertainty, position adjustment and strong US data. However, she says yields fell this week as Indian government bonds turned a value pick with a 10-year benchmark yield near 7.25% with geopolitical tensions easing and oil prices declining. Amidst offshore overnight index swap inflows, she expects a 10-year benchmark bond yield to trade in a range of 7.1 to 7.25% in the very near term.
Well, we've got a lot of stock-specific action track for you. We get to that in just a bit in our special Top 10 segment. For the time being, we run you through the list. We look at Hindustan Unilever, Axis Bank, Indian Hotels, MAS Financial, Syngene. Well, all of them will be reacting to positive news. We'll add to the list macrotech developers that slow them. On the flip side, Kotak Mahindra Bank, LTI Mindtree, Dalmia Bharat and AU Small Finance will be reacting to negative news flow.
Okay, well, that's the sort of lineup here in terms of stocks which we will address. Arvind,